Rock straight up! It's the Carton Show with Big Mac. Phone number to join, as always, 888-808-1019 on a gorgeous Friday afternoon in New York City. And obviously, all plans that were made going into today's show got thrown a bit of a curveball. Baseball reference early this morning when we all get the news that the New York Mets put Carlos Mendoza out of his misery. It's kind of like when you hit a deer on the road and the deer is still breathing. And you call 911 and the cops come out there and they say, not your fault. It's all good. If you could just stand back for a second. And they take a gun out of their holster and they put two right behind the deer's ear. That's essentially what the Mets did this morning to Carlos Mendoza. And I have to say this about it. I actually applaud Steve Cohen for doing it. Because I heard a lot of people today yelling and screaming about, hey, yeah, Mendoza got fired, but you should have did it 2 months ago. But you can't go back in time. Obviously, the Philadelphia Phillies fired Rob Thompson. Don Mattingly takes over, and it worked for them. The Phillies are a runaway train right now, and they're obviously in town to play the Mets, so we'll see how that goes for everybody as Andy Green now becomes the interim manager for the rest of the season. We'll get to that later on today because I would have hired Wally Backman, who's already here in Staten Island, and I would certainly have taken the job in a finstant, which is quicker than an instant. But here's where Steve Cohen actually did something that is actually very kind. If we all agree that there was no way, and obviously there was no way, that Carlos Mendoza was going to have his option picked up and come back, he's dead man walking. And if we also recognize, I think we all agree kind of universally, that Carlos Mendoza is not the number one guy on the totem pole of who's most responsible for this embarrassing season for the New York Mets, that if you don't fire him and relieve him of his duties, you put him out there every single day just to be a punching bag. And whether it was the doubleheader loss to the Cubs or just the overall, bad performance and non-competitive spirit of this New York Met team, the manager has to talk to the media every single day, multiple times a day. And if we agree it wasn't his fault, A, check that box. And if we agree you're not bringing him back next year, check that box. Then put him out of his misery. Because now that we've put him out of his misery, and again, I want to applaud Steve Cohen, an owner that I've not agreed with a lot, an owner that I think should come out of hiding and actually speak to the Met fan base about things and about the current state of the New York Met franchise, which is a side story, of course, for another day. I applaud the fact that he respected Carlos Mendoza. And in his respect of Carlos Mendoza, he fired him. He did Carlos Mendoza a favor. Because when you think about it, not that Mendoza is the greatest manager of all time. He is seventh, I believe, all time in the Met franchise when it comes to a win percentage at .509, meaning that he retires or gets fired as the Met manager with a winning record. How many guys in the history of the Met franchise left here with a winning record? The answer is 8. He's one of only 8 managers in Met lore that actually left with a winning record. The reality is that he had to go for his sake. This doesn't make the New York Mets a better organization. This doesn't mean the New York Mets are suddenly going to turn it on and have some self-respect and make you proud of being a Met fan. What it does do, though, it does the one thing every Met fan that I've talked to for every day for the last 6 months seems to be in agreement on. And that is, it focuses now officially the bullseye of blame onto the back of David Stearns. Now the clock is running officially on your embattled GM, who, by the way, is going to talk at 3 o'clock today, and will carry a part of his press conference live here on The Fan, because I think you as Met fans deserve to hear from the embattled general manager. And remember this, not only did Stearns, the guy that made every single bad decision from a personnel standpoint, he's also the guy that hired Mendoza. So don't think for a minute that part of the decision not to fire Mendoza earlier when the Phillies fired Rob Thompson and that week of action was not because Stearns didn't want to eat yet another bad decision. So here we are. I'm no longer a diehard Met fan, but man, I work with a bunch of them. And it's interesting to me that today, the second biggest sports day of the year in New York City, I am without a partner. And that's on Big Mac. That is on him. I texted him this morning, and I said, if you ever want to be thought of as a go-to voice in New York, you get your ass to work on a big sports day. Meanwhile, he's on his way to Boston to watch the Yankees play the Red Sox. He may already be there, so he's not here today. Anthony Gallo, one of the biggest Met fans in this building, he's not here today because he claims he got pink eye. And I got to be honest, I've never met an adult that's gotten pink eye. Children, all the time. Grown people, nobody gets pink eye. He's got pink eye, so he's not here today. But the good news is, my guy, Pete Hoffman, is here today. He's wearing his Met jersey. I respect that. That means he's not a fair weather fan. He's got the Met hat on. And let me just walk you through what Pete did today. Pete has had 3 conversations today with 3 different human beings trying to get them to come on the show and I guess, dump on the New York Met organization. I assume that was the purpose of it. And yes, I would have taken all 3 calls. So I'm not suggesting I was against it conceptually because I wasn't. All right? First, he called Brody Wagner-McGinn, right? And he had a nice conversation, or he left a voicemail for Brody. Brody called him back. Brody politely declined at this time to dump on Mendoza, to dump on Stearns, and to dump on the Mets. All right, that's fine. That's the first guy he called. He ain't coming on. The second guy he called, who's the second guy, Pete?
Zach Scott.
Zach Scott, another great person to call who knows how the Met franchise works. Zach Scott said, not a good day for me to be talking. Nobody wants a piece of this if they ever worked for the Mets before. He called Jared Porter. Not a good time to come on the show. He's called every single living former Met general manager to come on the show today. I guess to get their pound of salt or sand, whatever it is, and none of them are coming on. So I will allow Pete, as the resident diehard emotional Met fan, to get a word in. I will tell you that just for a programming standpoint, Plaxico Burress was coming in today from 3 to 5. I canceled that. For those of you that were expected to hear from Plaxico, and Plax is back in the news again today because I guess he's auctioning off the game-winning touchdown football that he caught against the Patriots in the first of the 2 Super Bowl wins for the Giants against New England. And that would have been fascinating to talk to him about. But I also understand that this is a Met day today. This is a Met fan opportunity to flex, to vent, to talk, to yell, to scream, to cry. And I was not going to put Plax in that situation. Paul Verzi, one of the top comics in America, who's a diehard New York sports fan, is coming in later on. He's a Yankee fan, so I figured why not have somebody funny make fun of the Mets throughout the afternoon. So Paul will do that for us later on. That being said, Pete Hoffman, your initial, raw, emotional reaction to the news that Mendy got fired.
This solves nothing. This solves absolutely nothing. And
you would not have done it.
No.
Okay.
Because
the
one thing it does is it takes Carlos Mendoza out of the picture, and now, like you said, all on David Stearns.
As it should be. By the way, that's what you should want. David Stearns is the guy that's most responsible for the Met, malaise, for this embarrassing season. Not a single move he made has worked out. By the way, last year at the trade deadline, not a single decision he made has panned out. So if you have a guy that speaks every day 2 or 3 times a day and is now the voice piece of a franchise, that's the guy that has to take the slings and arrows when you suck, right? That's not necessarily fair. Now, look, not that Mendoza was the greatest manager. He wasn't. He does have a winning record. He did go to an NLCS, but he's not the greatest manager. He doesn't have a track record to survive this. But the guy's head that all you people want on a silver platter, rightfully so, is David Stearns. Well, now that you get rid of the manager and you have an interim manager, now you're going to get what you want. All the negative attention goes to the right guy. There's no longer a buffer for David Stearns. And I think David Stearns is coming back next year. He's got 2 years left on his contract at $10 million a year. I think he's coming back. I think he gets one more crack at building a franchise that you Met fans will be proud of, because you are rightfully so not proud of this team. 6 consecutive losses for the second time this year, 13 games under 500, 15 games out of first place, and now 9.5 games outside of the last wild card spot. I don't even know if this is a job that anybody else wants, which is probably why you got Andy Green as the interim manager. Regardless, we'll take all your calls. 888-808-1019. 3 o'clock today, David Stearns is going to be yapping. And like I said, we'll cover that. I don't know that Steve Cohen's talking today. I do know that Steve Cohen will be at the ballpark today. That I know. He will be at the ballpark today, I guess, just to show the team. I don't know what he's showing them. I don't even know if he's going to address the players. I imagine he probably will. But Steve Cohen will be at the ballpark, meaning I assume the beat reporters that cover the Mets may have an opportunity to do a quick little one-on-one or like a 4-on-1 type of situation, which is, Pete's dream, of course, but in a much different sense. So he will be in the ballpark tonight. So I imagine at some point some reporter's going to say, hey, Steve, walk me through the decision to fire Mendoza now. I know a lot of people think it's because of that embarrassing doubleheader loss to the Cubs. I don't think that's the specific cause or reason. It's everything. It's everything. There's not a single part of this team this year that you can look at and say, well, that's really good. Even Nolan McClain not pitching well over the last month or so. I think he'll be fine, but there's nothing you can look at now that makes you say, we're going to get out of this. We're going to be better. And I think, as Big Mac has said repeatedly, I think they're going to be very active in selling off pieces as we approach the trade deadline. So we'll get all your calls. I'm actually in a weird fight right now. Remember yesterday when I told you I was done with the one-on-one, media wars? I find myself today right back into a media war that I'm trying to avoid. And I never even heard of the guy. Have you guys ever heard of Aubrey Huff? You know who this guy is, this clown?
Yeah, I mean, I know who Aubrey Huff is, yeah.
So Aubrey Huff won 2 World Series with the San Francisco Giants. I know, and he was a one-time Silver Slugger Award winner, and he made $60 million in his baseball career. He and I are in a war right now. A war. Yes, because I commented on his derogatory, hateful, homophobic speech the other day about Gay Pride Night in Major League Baseball. So I figured I'll stand up for the gay community and gay baseball fans. I'm sure there's millions of them, right? Why? Just because you're gay doesn't mean you can't love baseball, right? And I went after him, and then he wrote back at me, and then I go back at him. And now I'm done. But I am in a war right now with Aubrey Huff, who I honestly God have never heard of.
So, but you're done going back at him?
Well, he came at me with another long, off the hinges diatribe. So then I had to respond to that. And I said, look, you're an addict. He's a drug addict and an alcoholic. I, of course, am a compulsive gambler. And I said, I've seen this animal before. You need help. Mental health is real. Reach out to somebody. Even me, I'd gladly talk you off the ledge. But he's on a ledge right now. And it's serious. So, yes, I'm in a war right now. But being the bigger man, I did reach out an olive branch. You're not in a good place right now. And I'm here to help you if I can help you. So probably won't ask for my help, I imagine, because, I don't hate gay people like he does. I don't find the lifestyle objectionable at all. You're born a certain way. That's who you are. He hates people. He hates it. And the diatribe he went on is disgusting and reprehensible. So I stuck up for the community because that's what I do.
I feel like I remember him walking around like pink thongs back in the day.
Yeah,
like
he was a pink thong guy. He unfortunately had an Adderall addiction. And he had a booze addiction, and he once came very close to suicide. So he's been through the ringer and back for sure in his personal life, but now he's, again, another one of these moral compasses out there that wants to tell everybody how they should live their lives. So I decided to be the voice of the voiceless, and that's what I did. So I'm in a war with Aubrey Huff, of all people. So if that comes out throughout the show, you know why. All right, 888-808-1019. Here's Big Dan at Garden City on the Fan. Danny, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, how you doing today?
Great.
Great. Well, anyway, I am optimistic that the Mets are beginning their fix for the horror that Stearns brought upon us in the last 2 years?
The horror. See, but here's what's interesting. You say the horror that Stearns brought upon us, meaning Mendoza wasn't the problem, correct?
Mendoza was a problem, but not the prime issue
Correct.
of what was wrong with the Mets.
And I'll say it a million times today. Steve Cohen did Carlos Mendoza a favor. He did him a solid. He got him out of the mess. He still gets paid, and he no longer has to come to work every day going, how am I going to answer that question today? Because that's what this has been for far too long. And for a team that entered the season as the odds-on favorite to win the National League East, and I gave you the stats already, that are now 15 games out of first place, despite being the preseason odds-on favorite to win the National League East, somebody's got to go. And it's always the manager first. In this case, it's the manager first. It seems like it's going to be a bunch of players second. And then we're a year away from, what do we do with David Stearns, right? He's got 2 years to go in his contract. He makes $10 million a year. The real question will become this offseason, and I guess at the trade deadline as well, how much faith now does Steve Cohen have in David Stearns to fix this quickly? How much faith does he have that he sells off the right pieces, not the wrong pieces, when you consider the ultimate future of the New York Mets? Because here's the reality. You've already brought up your best minor leaguers this year. That's already happened, right? There's only so many minor leaguers that are currently ready to play in the big leagues. You're also going to probably trade some more minor leaguers away if you think you're going to acquire players or trade players. And then all of a sudden, if you can't fix this pitching staff, why would you think that next year it's going to be any better? So the David Stearns-Met relationship is a very interesting one to watch now. Very interesting. And I'm assuming that the decision to fire Mendoza this morning, and this is just my gut, this was not a David Stearns decision. This was a Steve Cohen decision. And that's my gut on that. I think we'll learn that at 3 o'clock during the press conference. But I think Steve Cohen probably went to bed last night after the extra inning loss, and another big kid from PCA who Stearns did not trade. That was his predecessor. But my gut is that Steve Cohen went to bed last night saying, I just can't take this anymore. I got to do something. The fan base is going to turn on me next. And that's what he did. He put the manager out of his misery, and he essentially told the fan base, without using these words, I get it. I hear you. I'm with you. I'm going to fix it. Now, you don't have to believe that, but that's my gut as to what happened last night, and then the decision to fire him, or at least announce the firing early this morning. 888-808-1019, Carton Show with Big Mac. We got the Friday Wheel later on today. Of course, you know the official name. It's the Wednesday Wheel on Friday, but that's coming up much later on this afternoon, and hopefully you'll join us throughout the day on a beautiful Friday afternoon here in New York City. Who's joining us at 4 o'clock?
Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez at 4 o'clock today. Nice producing there. Look at you. All right, so 3 o'clock press conference, Verzi in between, and Keith Hernandez at 4 o'clock. So to hear what he has to say as well.